All right, good morning, everybody. So this is the second video in the series about deploying Node.js to a serverless environment, and more specifically AWS using AWS Lambda and AWS API Gateway, besides other services, but these are the main two. So in the last video, I think I gave you a good overview of what we're going to be building. Hopefully that was understandable. If not, then just follow along. But yeah, in this video we're gonna build a basic Node.js server, Node.js Express server actually, and then deploy that. As always, there is a GitHub repository, also linked below. But which is this one here, but I don't have anything here yet, but I'm gonna deploy that later on or upload that later on. The reason is, the reason you're gonna see in a second. Yeah, okay, well, I think we can jump right into it. Yeah, maybe one thing before we get started with the code. What you would need is an account for AWS. Right, so you can go to, aws.amazon.com, and then create an AWS account. There should be an option for a free tier. I'm not sure if you're required to add any credit card information, but there is, I'm not sure, there is AWS free tier. There we go. Yeah, there's plenty of requests for free, or just plenty of resources that you can use for free, and before you need to start paying. So 1 million requests per month, that's quite a bit, I would say. Yeah, if you sign up, then you should be good to go without having to pay anything. But as I said, for this series, you're gonna need an AWS account because I'm gonna deploy to AWS. Okay, well, let's get started. So once we have that, I'm just gonna stay signed in. We're gonna play around with that later. What I'm gonna use as a starting point is Serverless Express. That's a package by Vendia, I think they're called. So, and they're doing quite a good job at setting it up for you, right? I'm gonna walk you through that. Actually, I already did it once, and then we can use that as a starting point and build that out. I did try to set it up myself with the SAM model, or with SAM, Service Application Model. This is provided by AWS themselves, but I found it not to be that great. So yeah, if you want, go for it, but I would recommend just using this Vendia thing and this Vendia repository as a starting point. Okay, first step. So they do have this repository, Vendia / Serverless Express, and then they have examples in there, and we're going to use these examples as a starting point. And we're going to use the basic starter API gateway v1 as a starting point. So I'm going to just download the whole, clone the whole repository. I'm going to remove everything except for this, okay? So I'm going to git clone, and then into the current directory. Very good. And then I'm going to remove everything. Also remove this and this. Okay. I'm going to have this here. Sorry. Okay, and put that on the root folder. Very nice. You can do that later on after you set it up as well. It doesn't matter. But yeah, okay. And then I'm also gonna git init. very good because I'm going to push that to GitHub later on. So let's see, to run the example, okay, update the config section of your package.json. Good. So here you can put whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but something that matches your AWS account. For S3 bucket name, you can just think of something. So I'm gonna go with Academy Serverless Node. And as a region, I'm gonna use EU Central 1. I don't think it matters much because in the end, the functions are gonna be run at an edge location. So if the request comes from North America, they're gonna be executed there, as far as I know. And then if they come from Europe, they're gonna be executed there. I think it's just to hold the source files for the function. Okay, but yeah, my home region is EU Central 1, so I'm just gonna use that. CloudFormation stack name. Here again, you can just think of something. I'm gonna go Academy Serverless Node stack, and then I'm gonna use something fairly similar. I'm gonna go with Academy Node function, something like that. And we're gonna change that as well later on, but for now we can just get started with that. Domain, not going to put anything there for now. We're going to connect that later, and I'm not going to use, so if you do that, well, okay, let's talk about that later. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Yeah, just those. Okay, let's check back with the readme. Optionally domain, yeah, we're not going to use that right now. And then npm run setup. So this is going to install everything, and then yeah, basically create everything. So npm run setup. Okay. Very good. Gonna do a whole bunch of things. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and go to CloudFormation to see. Okay, there we go. We do have Academy Serverless Node Stack. Review in progress. That's great. That's very great. Well, that's being created. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. That's being created. Maybe while we're waiting, as for the domains, you can provide a domain name in here, and then if you, well, this requires you to have the domain registered in AWS Route 53, which might be the case if you had, well, you can go ahead and buy one there. But chances are, if you do have a domain, an existing domain that you want to connect, that's not going to work out, right? Because they're trying to create DNS records there. For me, I'm going to show you how to use that later on, how to connect a custom domain that is not hosted in AWS Route 53 or not registered there. Okay, meanwhile, I think we're done. So if we go to, what is it, CloudFormation? Yeah, you can go just type CloudFormation, and you go there. We have our Academy Serverless Node Stack, which is completed. Very good. So I click on that, and then there's also a bunch of things. One important tab is the Events tab, because there's going to be more information for you later on if something goes wrong, right? So this is the place where you need to look if something goes wrong. Just as an example, I have these other two that I already set up. And then if I scroll down a little bit, okay, there you go. There's, yeah, for example, there's an error. Then they do the rollback and so on. And you're not going to see much in the terminal, but, well, they're going to tell you to look here, basically. So this is where you have to go to debug the architecture. And then resources, okay. Oops. Okay, I think I just reloaded. Very good. And the outputs, that's also some nice useful links. They're probably overlapping a little bit, but that's fine. So yeah, API gateway console URL, that's kind of important. API URL, that's also very important. This is where your server is going to be accessible for now, and then also the Lambda function. I'm just going to go ahead and check those out. And then I think we're going to wrap up for this video, because this is basically what you would need, right? Actually, no, we're going to do a little bit. So let's check those out real quick. So first one would probably be the API URL, right? And then this is the default server that they spin up for you, okay? We're gonna check that in a second, or change that in a second. And then we also have the API gateway console URL. We're also gonna play around with that. So this is the API gateway. Remember, this is the layer that is between the client and the function. So this takes in all the requests and then forwards it to our function. We only have one function at the moment, and we're gonna keep it that way. I don't want to build up other functions. Maybe for me it was kind of confusing how the setup would be, but the setup is actually that we have one function that handles the whole server, right? All HTTP requests, all API requests. So I thought, okay, maybe for each of the routes, so let's say you have a route /users, right? Then this would be a function, and then I don't know, post /user. So to create one, this would be another function. But no, it seems like everything is wrapped into one function, which kind of looks a little bit like the monolithic architecture. But yeah, this is the way to go, and you still have the isolation if you want to, right? And even if not, it doesn't matter, because the function invocation is limited. So you're only going to end up, so let's say you have a folder with all the endpoints, so user creation and listing all the users. If you invoke, if you send a request, right? So for example, /users, you're gonna end up in that folder somewhat, and in that specific file. Let me just show you what I mean. Endpoints, and then get users.js and create user.js, whatever. You can structure it how you want, right? And then if I just enter /users, basically I'm gonna end up in the get users file if I have the correct setup, and then all the other things are gonna be ignored. And there's no chance of the server going down or whatever. So it's somewhat isolated. It's just that the code lives together, which I think is better anyway, right? But yeah. Okay, I got a little bit into a mental rabbit hole here. But yeah, so okay, let's get back to that. We have CloudFormation that ties everything together, API gateway, which sits kind of in the middle. And then we have one function that does everything. And the function is accessible here for now, later on with the custom domain, which we're going to connect. Now let's see if we can do some changes and then deploy that again, right? Because chances are we kind of don't want to have this as our app, or as our server, right? But rather I would use this setup for an API server. So I don't need a view engine, because I would recommend to host any static websites, or well, even if it's not static, even if it's a single page application or whatnot, I would host that somewhere else, so that this server is just for programmatic, programmatic exchange, let's say, not for an actual user that would request something. So I'm gonna remove that, and then this whatever. I'm gonna remove everything. This is normal Express.js, right? So I can just have that there. This is like a little bit of an example that what you can do. Okay, that's fine. And then maybe for now let's just have one root route. And here this might be useful for later on, because we don't have something like, well, there's gonna be more information in these objects, right? In the request context, multi-value headers, whatever. So we might need to access that. I'm probably gonna extract that into a separate util function. And this is specific to AWS Lambda, right? If you're using Google Cloud, or if you're using a different architecture, this is not going to apply, right? Okay, well, this is here. Okay, let's just API URL stage. We're not going to render something. I'm just going to return an object, and then just going to debug true, success true, and we're going to deploy that and see if that's going to be accessible here, right? So to deploy, everything is written in the README, by the way, but to deploy, you need to run package, more on that later, and then deploy. And if you run package deploy, everything is run after another. So npm, I forgot to mention npm build package and then deploy. This command it's just everything together. So I'm gonna do that. Run package deploy. Very good. So what happens here? Do I want to touch on that right now? I'm not sure. Yeah. No, let's do that later. So also I can remove this one here. I think that's okay. Let's have a quick look at what files there are, and then how to also run it locally, because chances are you don't want to only run it on AWS, because then you would need to make a change, upload it, takes a while, and then debug. No, that's not great. So you also want to run it locally. Okay, well, yeah, seems to be successful, the deployment. So let's see. I'm gonna reload here, and then I get my changed response here. So debug true, success true. Get this one here, and stages production for now. So that's great. The deployment worked. This is the base layer of what we're gonna be building on in the next couple of videos. That's working greatly. Okay, then let's have a look at the files that were created, and then we're gonna probably finish up this one. There's a package lock.json. I don't know why that is. I'm gonna remove that here. Also gonna remove the views, so that we really just have these two. Okay, let's check out what we have. Well, this folder, more on that later maybe. Node modules, I hope that's clear. Then scripts, let's check that. So this is to emulate, I think it's to emulate or invoke a function locally, right? Because it's different from having the function run or having the debug server run locally. So this, I would say this is probably more for later, and I would probably try to debug with the actual function deployed. There shouldn't be a difference in theory, or not much of a difference, but if there is a problem specific to Lambda, I would probably debug that with a deployed version, because then I'm 100% sure it's exactly what I'm gonna get and not some emulation. Yeah. Okay, then the source app. This is our server. As I mentioned, we had a look at that already. Nothing fancy. If you know Express, then that's what you get here. Lambda. So this is the index file. Let's say the main file that that AWS Lambda is going to use. So let's have a look at that maybe. So go back to the CloudFormation, to the outputs, and then we have URL for the Lambda dashboard. And yeah, this is the Academy Serverless node stack, what I specified in the package.json earlier. We do have our function here, and they actually give you a source editor here, and we can see that there is there's some files, right? And this Lambda is going to be transpiled to main.js, right? This is a bundled file, but basically this is the entry point, right? So there, you probably don't need to change anything there. Yeah, but this is what AWS Lambda reads and then uses to run your app. What else is there? API gateway event JSON is just a debug event, a sample event, which you might end up sending locally, right? Then there's app.local.js. This is to run the server locally. I'm gonna do that in the second. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna do that now. They say it's npm run start. Then it's running locally. So we have the same thing, right? We have not all of the values, because it's the stage that's coming from Lambda itself, but everything else looks the same. So this is somewhat how you would run this server locally. Okay, not much to change. I'm gonna change that a little bit, but not much. Good. Then what else do we have? Package lock, package JSON. That's pretty self-explanatory. What else? SAM template package. Don't need to worry about that. That's just a packaged version of this one here. So this one is the CloudFormation. You go back here. So this is the CloudFormation stack. This is what holds everything together, what creates all the different resources that we use. And at the moment, that's just the API gateway and then the Lambda function. And yeah, this is just what is used to declare the whole stack. We're gonna change that probably quite a bit later on, but for now that's fine. Okay, well, I think that is it. Well, maybe one final thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do git init and then touch git ignore to not have the dist, not have node modules. What else do we not need? The SAM template packaged YAML. Is there anything else? I don't think so. I think that's okay. And then I'm gonna upload that to this repository. Basic setup, let's call it. Okay. Branch main. I'm gonna add the remote. remote origin already exists. Okay, yeah, that's probably because they connected that to, yeah, because I cloned that. Okay, I'm not gonna do that in this video. Just, yeah, you're gonna find that here. And then next up, we're gonna adjust this whole setup a little bit further. Okay. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first walkthrough. Let me know if you found it useful. Let me know if you have any questions. And then otherwise, see you in the next video.